In 1972, the Poseidon adventure took the world by storm, becoming a landmark in the disaster film genre with its gripping story and an ensemble cast that delivered unforgettable performances. More than 5 decades later, the movie remains a classic, sparking curiosity about the lives of its stars. What happened to the actors who braved the cinematic shipwreck? How did their careers evolve, and what personal milestones have they reached since then? As we enter 2025, let's dive into the fascinating stories of these iconic performers and discover where they are now, 53 years after the release of this legendary film. Gene Hackman, who portrayed Reverend Scott in the Poseidon adventure in 1972, was 42 years old during filming. Scott, a determined and courageous character, becomes a leader in the midst of disaster, showing unwavering faith and strength as he attempts to guide the survivors to safety. Hackman's career spanned decades, with iconic roles in The French Connection, The Conversation, and Unforgiven, earning him critical acclaim and 2 Academy Awards. However, his personal life was fraught with difficulties. His first marriage to Faye Maltese, which lasted 30 years, ended in 1986, and the divorce left Hackman emotionally scarred. Though he married again, he struggled with loneliness and emotional isolation. As Hackman aged, he stepped back from the public eye, leading a quiet life away from Hollywood. Now 94, Hackman remains largely out of the spotlight, reflecting on a remarkable career overshadowed by a deeply personal, and at times painful, journey. Carol Lenley, who portrayed Nani in the Poseidon adventure in 1972, was 30 years old when she took on the role. Nani was a vulnerable, yet courageous singer who overcame her fear in the face of disaster, reflecting Carol's own struggles in her personal life. She married photographer Michael Selzman in 1961, but their marriage ended in divorce, and they had no children. Carol's career never reached the heights of fame she had hoped for, with many of her roles in the 1970s and 1980s failing to make a lasting impact. A deep personal tragedy occurred when her daughter was involved in a car accident, adding to her emotional burdens. Throughout her life, Carol dealt with financial instability, loneliness, and a sense of unfulfilled potential. Carol Lenley passed away on September 3, 2019, at the age of 77, from a heart attack, a sad end to a life marked by heartache and lost opportunities. Red Buttons, who played Martin in the Poseidon adventure in 1972, was 53 years old during filming. Martin's character was gentle and somewhat hesitant, but he discovered inner courage in the face of the shipwreck. Like his character, Buttons was often seen as an everyman, showing vulnerability yet ultimately finding his strength. Buttons enjoyed a long and varied career, winning an Academy Award and an Emmy, but his personal life was fraught with emotional struggles. His first marriage to actress Alicia Duvall ended in divorce after just a few years, and his second marriage to actress Helene McElroy was no less tumultuous, with the two eventually separating in 1967. These failed relationships weighed heavily on Buttons, and he battled depression for much of his life. Despite his professional success, his personal life was overshadowed by these difficulties. Red Buttons passed away on July 13, 2006, at 87 from vascular disease. Stella Stevens, who portrayed Linda Rogo in the Poseidon adventure in 1972, was 34 years old during filming. Linda was a glamorous and strong-willed character who fought for survival in the face of overwhelming odds, much like Stella herself. Stella's real-life relationships were less glamorous. She married actor Noble Willingham, but their marriage ended in divorce, and she struggled with her relationship with their son, Andrew Stevens, who later became an actor and producer. Despite her early success in films like The Poseidon Adventure and The Nutty Professor, Stella's career faltered, and she faced financial instability as the years went on. Her most tragic personal challenge came when she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, which gradually stole her memories and left her physically frail. Stella Stevens passed away on February 17, 2023, at the age of 84, from complications related to Alzheimer's disease. Rody McDow, who played Akers in the Poseidon Adventure in 1972, was 44 years old during filming. Akers was a loyal and dedicated steward, always helping others to survive in a crisis, but in his own life, Rody faced personal challenges. Though he had numerous close friendships, including with stars like Elizabeth Taylor, he never married, which led to speculation about his private life. His early career as a child star brought fame, but by the 1970s and 1980s, Rody struggled to find meaningful roles, which affected both his career and his finances. His most devastating personal struggle came in the form of his battle with lung cancer, which he kept largely private. Even as his health declined, Rody continued to work, but the illness ultimately took its toll. Rody McDow passed away on October 3, 1998, at the age of 70, from lung cancer, leaving behind a legacy of personal and professional struggles. Ernest Borgnine, who played Rogo in the Poseidon adventure in 1972, was 55 at the time of filming. Rogo's character was a tough, fiercely protective man, traits that reflected Borgnine's own persona. Though Borgnine achieved great fame with his Oscar-winning performance in Marty and as the beloved character in Okell's Navy, his personal life was riddled with hardship. His first marriage to actress Katie Jurado lasted only 3 years, and his second marriage to actress Ethel Merman was famously tumultuous and ended after just 4 years. Despite these failures, Borgnine found a sense of stability in his third marriage to Tova Tresnes in 1973, but the emotional toll of his previous relationships lingered. He faced bouts of loneliness and depression, often overshadowed by the public successes in his career. Borgnine's death on July 8, 2012, at 95, from renal failure marked the end of a long, complicated life. Shelley Winters, who played Belle Rosen in the Poseidon adventure in 1972, was 52 years old during filming. Belle was a strong, determined woman who fought bravely in the face of disaster, her maternal instincts crucial for the group's survival. Winters' own life, however, was filled with struggles that often mirrored her character's strength but lacked the same happy resolution. She was married 3 times, first to actor Guy Madison, later to another actor, and finally to Paul, though none of these unions lasted. She had a daughter, Vittoria, but her family life was often strained. Winters battled weight issues, depression, and a sense of inadequacy that haunted her despite her Oscar-winning career. Her fame was marred by public scrutiny and personal unhappiness, and her struggles with mental health and body image took a toll. Winters passed away on January 14, 2006, at 85, due to heart failure. Pamela Martin, who played Susan in the Poseidon adventure in 1972, was just 19 years old at the time of filming. Susan was a young woman who displayed remarkable resourcefulness and bravery, playing a critical role in her group's survival. Martin's career, though launched with promise, was plagued by personal struggles and dissatisfaction with the role she was offered. After the success of the Poseidon adventure, she went on to star as Fallon Carrington in Dynasty, but her fame quickly became a double-edged sword. She struggled with the pressures of Hollywood, became dissatisfied with her career, and retreated from public life after her marriage ended in divorce. Martin had no children, and her personal life remained private, marked by a desire for solitude. As of 2025, at 72, she lives far away from the limelight, with her life now largely out of the public eye. Jack Albertson, who portrayed Manny Rosen in the Poseidon adventure in 1972, was 65 years old during filming. Manny, the loyal and devoted husband, was a character whose love and bravery were pivotal during the disaster, yet Albertson's own life was far more complicated. His career, though successful in his earlier years, faced challenges, and his marriage to actress Shirley Jones ended in divorce after years of struggles. Despite his 2 children, his family life was tainted by personal disappointments. Jack battled with his health for several years, eventually succumbing to colorectal cancer. His death, at 74, on November 25, 1981, was the end of a life marked by both professional achievement and personal heartache. Albertson's legacy left a poignant reminder of the toll fame and private struggles can take on a person. Shay, who played Robin in the Poseidon adventure in 1972, was only 12 years old when he began filming. Robin was a curious and brave boy, whose intelligence and quick thinking were pivotal in helping the survivors navigate the perilous conditions aboard the ship. Shay's career as a child actor blossomed after the film, with roles in the Poseidon Adventures sequel Beyond the Poseidon Adventure and various TV appearances. However, the fame that came with these roles didn't shield him from the struggles that followed. While he never publicly discussed his personal relationships, Shay's life outside the spotlight was marred by challenges, including battles with depression and addiction. He found little stability in his adult years and faced many obstacles in trying to transition from child stardom into a successful adult career. As of 2025, Shay is now 64 years old and continues to reflect the bittersweet reality of a former child star whose early fame led to a series of personal battles. Arthur O'Connell, who portrayed the chaplain in the Poseidon Adventure in 1972, was 64 years old when he began filming. The chaplain was a symbol of solace and hope amidst the chaos of the disaster, offering spiritual support to those struggling to survive. O'Connell's career spanned decades, with notable roles in Anatomy of a Murder and The Best of Everything. Despite his professional success, his personal life was overshadowed by a series of challenges. O'Connell's marriage to actress June Thorburn was fraught with difficulties and eventually ended in divorce. His later years were marked by loneliness and declining health, a far cry from the strong and reassuring figure he portrayed on screen. Tragically, O'Connell's life was further darkened by his battle with Alzheimer's disease, a slow and cruel decline that robbed him of his memory and his ability to work. He passed away on May 18, 1981, at the age of 73. Sheila Allen, who played the nurse in the Poseidon Adventure in 1972, was 43 years old when she took on the role. The nurse was a caring, compassionate woman, always looking out for others, even in the midst of chaos. Sheila's real life, however, was marred by personal struggles. Though she had a successful career on stage and screen, she struggled with loneliness and heartache in her personal relationships. She was married twice, but both unions ended in divorce, and she had no children, leaving her life devoid of the familial joy she often longed for. Sheila faced the pain of being isolated in her later years, as her career began to fade, and she struggled with health issues. Despite these challenges, she continued to work in small roles in theater productions. Sheila Allen passed away on November 15, 2013, at the age of 84, after a life of bittersweet professional achievement mixed with profound personal loneliness. Fred Sadoff, who portrayed Lenarkos in the Poseidon Adventure in 1972, was 46 years old when he began filming. Lenarkos was a stern, yet decisive character, whose actions were crucial in guiding the survivors through the chaos of the sinking ship. Sadoff's career was never as high-profile as some of his co-stars, but he had solid roles in television and film, often playing authoritative figures. Off-screen, Sadoff's personal life was overshadowed by tragedy. He was known to have struggled with his relationships, and while he was married, the pressures of his career and personal demons led to an unstable family life. The real tragedy of his life, however, was his battle with AIDS, a disease that claimed his life in 1994. The stigma surrounding the illness during that time made Sadoff's struggle more isolating, and he passed away on May 6, 1994, at the age of 67. His death marked a sad and painful end to a life that had seen much promise, but also much personal suffering and eventual. Byron Webster, who played the purser in the Poseidon Adventure in 1972, was 41 years old when he took on the role. The purser was a dedicated, efficient figure, trying to maintain order while aiding the passengers through their perilous journey. In real life, Byron faced a series of personal challenges. He married twice but found no lasting happiness, as both marriages ended in divorce. His career, while steady, was never marked by major breakthroughs, and he struggled with a sense of unfulfilled ambition throughout his life. His family life was strained, and despite having children, his relationships with them were distant and fractured. His greatest personal tragedy came in the form of his health struggles, which contributed to his untimely death. Byron Webster passed away on December 1, 1991, at the age of 60, after years of battling both professional disappointment and personal misfortune, his passing marking the end of a quiet and sorrowful life. Jan Arvin, who portrayed the Doctor in the Poseidon adventure in 1972, was 59 years old during filming. The Doctor was a calm and knowledgeable figure, offering vital medical assistance during the disaster, showing great poise amidst the chaos. In his real life, Jan Arvin's career was marked by both success and hardship. Despite landing steady roles in television and film, Jan never reached the heights of stardom that his talent suggested. His personal life was equally troubled. Though married twice, his relationships were unstable, and he had no children, leaving his personal life often overshadowed by his career struggles. The most tragic aspect of Jan's life was his unexpected death from a heart attack at a relatively young age. Jan Arvin passed away on May 24, 1979, at the age of 66, a sudden loss that shocked his colleagues and left his potential unrealized. Bob Hastings, who played the MC in the Poseidon adventure in 1972, was 47 years old during filming. The MC was a lively and optimistic character, providing a brief sense of hope and entertainment in the midst of the unfolding chaos. Hastings' own life, however, was filled with personal tragedies, far removed from the upbeat persona he portrayed on screen. Married twice, his first marriage ended in divorce, and his second was marked by years of emotional struggles. Though he had a daughter, his relationship with her was strained, and he never truly found peace in his personal life. His career, which included appearances on television and in films, was often overshadowed by financial difficulties and health problems. Hastings' battle with prostate cancer was a painful and long one, taking a toll on his once vibrant spirit. He passed away on June 30, 2014, at the age of 89, after a battle that marked his later years with suffering and unresolved personal regrets. John Crawford, who portrayed the chief engineer in the Poseidon adventure in 1972, was 52 years old when filming began. The chief engineer was a calm and methodical character, working relentlessly to find a way to save the passengers from impending doom, a role that reflected Crawford's own determination and quiet strength. Off-screen, Crawford's career, though steady, lacked the major breakthroughs that could have elevated him to stardom. He was married twice, but both marriages ended in divorce, each leaving emotional scars. He had no children, which left him with a feeling of emptiness in his later years. His life was filled with long periods of loneliness, compounded by the grief of lost relationships and the lack of a fulfilling family. Despite his successful career, Crawford's health began to decline, leading to a stroke in his later years. He passed away on September 21, 2010, at 90, a tragic reminder of how even those who give so much on screen can be left with a life full of unfulfilled personal dreams. Robert Buckingham, who portrayed a passenger in the Poseidon adventure in 1972, was 38 years old when he began filming. His character, though minor, symbolized the ordinary people whose lives were upended by the disaster. In real life, Robert's career was a modest one, with few notable roles after Poseidon adventure. His personal life, however, was marked by prolonged periods of emotional turmoil. Robert married in his early 30s but faced a series of misfortunes that left his relationships fragile. His wife tragically passed away young, leaving him alone with their young daughter. His grief was compounded by his struggles to maintain a stable career, as many of his projects failed to gain significant traction. Robert faced the loss of both professional recognition and personal happiness, living in relative obscurity for much of his later years. As of 2025, Robert is 90 years old, living a quiet life away from the spotlight. Eric L. Nelson, who portrayed Mr. Tinkham in the Poseidon adventure in 1972, was 34 years old when he began filming. Mr. Tinkham was a dependable, pragmatic character who offered his assistance in the face of the disaster, embodying qualities of resilience and dedication. Nelson, however, struggled to find consistent work in Hollywood,